Welcome everybody to the CNC with Dave Gatton show. It's good to be back. I took last Saturday off. Uh, had to watch the SEC championship, Roll Tide. So hope you all forgive me for taking that off. But we have a good show for you tonight. We've got Michael Murray will be joining us sometime, I think, when he gets around to it. And I have Javi here to help me watch the chat as usual. And tonight we have Mr. Awesome Wood Things himself, Matt Haas from All Things YouTube fame. It's a very good show. And we're going to talk tonight probably about a bunch of stuff, but mostly about CNCs and the YouTubes, how they work and sometimes don't work together. So we're going to talk about that here real quick. Before I get started, I do want to knock out a few things here. I want to remind everybody we currently have the Gatton CNC Christmas Challenge, the third annual one going on here. I want to take a minute here to thank the people we have sponsoring Klingspor, more specifically Mike Ziegler. They're going with a $25 gift certificate. Megan Powell with Rockler. They're going to have a set of the clamp hold down things, which are very nice. My Roy Baker, I think I might have mentioned this on another show, but I got it in the mail, so I thought I would show it. He is donating a really nice handheld pendant. This is exactly like the one I have. And I love the one I have. So this is about an $80 or $90 pendant here. So thank you, Roy Baker, for sending that in to be used as a prize. Also, my old high school buddy, Carl Whitaker, sent me a $50 donation. Said he wanted to be involved with helping out the challenge. So I will use that $50 to purchase. I haven't made up my mind exactly what I'm getting. Maybe some router bits. Maybe I may get some more of these books here. These are really popular. But I'll try to spread that $50 out as far as I can. And also, if anybody else wants to help out in the, with a sponsored thing, that'd be great. Just let me know. I'll give you my email address where you can send a donation or whatever. So thank everyone that's doing that. Another thing I want to mention real quick, I haven't talked about it in a long time and nobody's even asked me about it in several shows, but I did the Go CNC unboxing video back in May. That company in Germany, Go CNC, sent me a small machine. And I finally, the other day, Thursday as a matter of fact, got sent a spindle for it. So
holy cow, that took a while.
Yeah. And it's weird because I don't know what their deal is. Like I said, they contacted me like in March, I think is when I first heard from them, and said they wanted me to want to know if I would take one of their machines and do some videos and help them out. And I'm like, sure. So they sent me the machine. I did the unboxing video, back in May or June, I think. But, and then I've been waiting all this time for it. I told them, I said, hey, the machine's ready to go. I even put a video up private and sent them the link so they could see I had the thing dancing around and humming. And I said, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to make some chips. I need something to use. And, anyway, they sent me that, and so probably after the first of the year, anybody that's interested in that, you can look for some videos where I'll be kicking the tires with that thing and doing a review, I guess, with that. And that's pretty much all I had. I guess we'll get started. Javi, you want to introduce yourself real quick? Everybody already knows you, but plug your show and all that stuff.
Sure thing. Thanks, Dave. My name is Javier Unzueta from Javi's Wood Shop. You can catch me if If you're a beginning CNCer or advanced and you want to learn a few tips and tricks, CNC with Javi every Friday night on Javi's Woodshop on YouTube. Friday nights at 8 p.m. That's about it.
Okay. And Matt, you want to, I mean, everybody knows you probably too, but I've got, by the way, in the show notes down below, if you click the little show more thing, I have everybody's YouTube channel link and all that stuff there. But Matt, go ahead and enlighten some folks about your different podcasts and stuff.
You got it. You got it. Well, I'm Matt Haas. I'm from the YouTube channel Awesome Wood Things. There's no ambiguity there. You know exactly what I do. I make things out of wood that are awesome. But I do have some live streams that I do, which kind of delve into some other topics. I am an expert in Adobe Illustrator. So Mondays at 6 p.m. Eastern, I have a Learn Adobe Now show where I use the program and give you tips along the way. And the show that Dave really likes is my All Things YouTube show. So on All Things YouTube, which is at 7 p.m. Mondays Eastern, 7 p.m. Eastern on Mondays, I recap any public news that YouTube pushes out. So if you've missed it, you want to keep up on the platform, what's changing, what they're thinking about doing, I give that to everyone. I give you channel tips. There's usually a topic of how to improve one or more things for channel owners. And it's not just maker related. It could be any channel could get benefit from it. And then sometimes if people ask, I will review their channel on the show and tell them everything I like and everything I don't like about their channel. While everyone's watching, we call it the hot seat. So it's sometimes good to critique other people's work in that type of environment because it helps everyone understand what could be better. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I do that too. Or, oh yeah, I'm gonna start doing that as well. So those are the live streams I do. And other than that, I'm just having fun on the internet, making cool things in my shop. It's a hobby for me, so I love it. And I'm an IT person and artist. I have a design degree, but I also taught myself how to write computer code. So all of that was mostly on the computer. And now when I make physical objects, I really like that aspect of it. Because when I turn the computer off, they don't go away. So I love being creative in physical mediums. So it's nice.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming on here tonight, Matt. And by the way, folks, like he said, the All Things YouTube is probably one of my favorite podcasts. I don't watch a whole lot of stuff just because I don't have time, but I always try to make time for that one because I have picked up some odds and ends. And I was just telling Matt before we went live, if I ever get off my butt and get out and start making videos again, a lot of that stuff will pay off. And some of it's already paid off for me. Some things have improved.
It's all about moving the needle, make small improvements over time. And, sometimes that's all it takes between YouTube picking your video to present to a potential watcher or someone else. It could just be the smallest thing. Your metadata is a little better. Your thumbnail's a little better. Your content's a little more engaging. That's what we're all about, improving. And because, I mean, who wants to look at stuff that's not designed well or entertaining? Not me. I want YouTube to be full of entertaining and informative stuff. So that's
so what you're saying is my live 38-hour CNC carving was not entertaining?
Yeah, that's hard to find a niche for that one.
Yeah. Well, this is pretty much a CNC show, so we want to talk about CNCs and YouTube. I know there's really three kinds of people. There's the people that are the haters right off the bat that are never going to like CNC. So, they're going to complain no matter what you do. And then you have some other people that don't, if the video has some CNC stuff in it, they don't like it, even though they're not necessarily against CNC. They don't want to see a lot of it run because it's boring. And then you have the other people, the third type of people that, you know, watching a CNC run is like porn to them. They'll watch it all day long. And, you know, so you got to find that happy medium, I guess, of how much to put in, and do you speed it up? And I'll just real quick, Matt, I'll tell you, when I do a video where I'm using my CNC, I'll tell you how I do it, and then you can tell me what I'm doing wrong. Usually when I do one, if I'm showing the CNC, I try to, one, I don't want to have the sound of the router because that's loud and annoying. So usually I just leave it quiet. I keep the sound turned off on the mic. And then I like to put graphics because I try to put myself in the person's shoes who's watching the video and what questions I would be asking, because it's the same ones I watch when I watch somebody else's video. I'm like, well, you know, he's showing it do this, but it'd be nice to know what type of wood is he cutting? What bit is he using? What's his feed rate? What's his depth of cut? Is it, you know, so I try to put, you know, it's a piece of, you know, mahogany. I'm using a 1/4-inch end mill for the roughing pass. And then when I change it out and I'm doing the finishing pass, I tell them what bit I'm using. I'll tell them the speed. You know, what do you think? Is that, am I doing it right or wrong, or what else should I do?
You know, we have to talk about the challenges. Like, footage of a CNC machine is a challenge for viewers because why? Like, fill in the blank. So, you know, it's like, is your audience coming to this channel to watch you build a project, or are they coming to watch a CNC perform and behave in awesome ways? So, you know, there's common principles that should be followed on any type of content, whether it has a CNC in it or not. Because if you just have footage of the CNC running, you know, that only gets you so far. You know, is what it's doing the first 5 seconds any better or interesting or different than what it's doing at the next grouping, or the next one, or the next one, or the next one? You know, so here's some ideas. I love the fact that you've cut the sound, or you've paid attention to the sound, because having a router, you know, roaring through your video is hard to take. So either drop the sound down or cut it all together. I'm a big proponent of have something on screen change every 15 seconds or so, or more often. So you said you put overlays, you put graphics over top. That's a critical idea for video footage, because anytime the screen substantially changes, the mind, your human mind, will say, "Oh, something changed," and it'll pay more attention. So if you go more than 12, 15 seconds of having the same thing, then your mind could drift. So you want to prevent that. So popping something up on screen, or changing the angle, or just zooming in a little bit. Any type of perceivable change like that will be, it will hold the interest of the person watching more. This is the same for talking head. Like, if you're just standing in front of your workbench, or standing in front of your CNC machine, and you're just talking, you know, how long are you going on that same shot without pulling in or pulling out or changing camera angles? Think about how fast the playback is. Do you really need to show the machine going at 100% speed? Speed that sucker up, man. You know, so
yeah, I never do it at
Right.
1-to-1 speed. It's always like 4-to-1 or 8-to-1 usually for me, because I know it's going to be way boring if I leave it regular speed.
I mean, what type of music, if any, do you have in the background? And are you doing the jump cuts to the music? Like, that's a sign that someone's, you know, put a higher level of effort into it. And then, it's like, if the focus is on how to build something, it doesn't have to be 100% footage of the machine. You could show the creative process before it gets to the machine. You could show how you secure the workpiece. I like it when people use the painter's tape on both the workpiece and the wasteboard, and then they put the CA glue in between. Like, that's pretty clever. Now, you can only see so many of those, but sometimes that's fun to see. And then if the unit's moving really like to another side, like, that could be an interesting piece of footage, instead of doing something really intricate in one tiny space. Zoom out and have the thing scream across the board can be an interesting thing. It's just,
That's a fantastic tip, Matt. I'm here writing notes, and at the 15-minute thing and changing angles and zoom, that's something that I've neglected to do. I'm certainly going to pay attention to that from now. That's
what
actually very
are
good.
you doing voiceover while the footage is running?
Mhm.
Are you breaking from the footage and going to a talking head, or showing the object that you've carved? You've got to break it up, because you just can't have all of your footage be the machine carving. That's not going to hold the interest of the person. And then when you're done, when it comes off the machine, are you showing the finishing work? Are you showing the assembly? Are you showing and then how about the item in use? Is it a toy? Is someone playing with the toy? It's, the idea is to get the machine on camera, but then tell the whole story about the build and the creative process, and ideally how it works.
Yeah, I think another thing to consider in my case, when I shoot a video of something on my CNC, because I sell those machines, like whether the Garage Works or the Gatton, I also want to get that product placement in the video as well.
Well, like,
So
if
they
you're
can,
6 minutes,
so we'll show the capabilities of the machine.
well, let me ask you, if your 6-minute video has 5 minutes of the Gatton CNC machine, or 1 minute of the Gatton CNC machine, like, which one of those is better marketing wise? They're probably going to be similar. In other words, you don't have to superstar the machine the entire time.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I just want to make sure that they know that the project that machine's cutting out, what type of machine it is, because
The bit changes. Do you put the bit changes on where you're?
Well, I usually don't show a bit change. I'll just do a transition from from the rough cut to the finish cut or something like that. And I really haven't done that many, especially recently. I haven't done that many videos with the CNC, but I don't just start out and it's all CNC. I usually, will maybe talk, maybe say what I'm going to make with it, show something about it, get it, then I'll show the minute or two of the CNC, and then show the rest of the project. I think probably one of the best examples is a couple of years ago. I did the pallet challenge, and I made in fact, I still got it out there in my shop. I showed taking apart the pallets, gluing up a blank, and then I had them on the CNC where I was cutting out the door. I made basically a little cabinet all out of pallet wood, and then on the center of the door, it had kind of a fancy shape, and it had a 2.5D carving of an eagle, and it said 2017 Pallet Upcycle Challenge or whatever it was called. And so I'm showing, showing the little bits of the CNC, but I'm telling, right, okay, this is the roughing pass. I'm using this bit, and I can't remember when I did that one, if I'm used graphics or narrated it, I'm not sure, but they got to see from the very beginning when I'm tearing apart pallets to the very end when it's hanging on my wall, all finished and putting stuff in it and all that.
Yeah. Carl Nelson agrees. He likes to see the whole process. And Benji had a good question. That brings up an interesting question that Benji had. How long should an actual video be?
Well, that's the $1 million question. It should be long enough to hold the viewer's interest from beginning to end. That's the more critical thing on YouTube, is having people not drop before the end. If it's a 3-minute video and they don't drop, great. If it's a 6-minute video and they don't drop, great. There was things going around that YouTube was favoring longer videos, meaning 10 to 12 minutes, but I think that has sort of either faded away or been removed, or maybe it wasn't really a thing to begin with. I know when you're on a television, when you're running the YouTube app on Roku or Apple TV or wherever, on the Amazon Prime stick or whatever, that it tries to push longer form videos in your recommended, because the thinking is you're on your couch, you don't want to pop from video to video. I'm the complete opposite. I want my 6-minute rapid fire videos back to back, no matter where I'm consuming it. But for me, I like to try and do around the 6-minute mark, but that's just for my content, for my audience. But really, you should cut out all the fluff, anything extraneous that doesn't need to be there that contributes to the story or what you're trying to teach or what you're trying to show. If it's extra, take it out. And then whatever length your video is, that's the length of your video needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've never tried to shoot for a certain length video, and when I have, it usually fails. It's either longer or shorter. But like you said, I try to take out the fluff, speed things up as far as the CNC, or maybe I'm cutting something on a table saw. How many cuts do people need to see on a table saw?
Not many.
I try to take everything out that doesn't really add any value. But then there are some things where, as you're building or as you're editing the video, you go, well, I know somebody's going to ask me how I did that, so I need to, put a graphic in there and say, So sometimes it is what it is. Sometimes it's a 6-minute video. Sometimes it might be a 15 or 20-minute video. And it just depends on what you're making, I guess.
Yeah. It also from my experience, it also depends on the viewer, because we can't really pigeonhole a type of viewer. I know for my shows, half my viewing audience would love to see me condense an hour show into 4 or 5 minutes of just the highlights and just the topics and how to from start to end. And then when I do that, I get the other half saying, where's the whole entire show? I want to see because they just want to sit back and enjoy the whole boring bits.
You can't please everyone. And also, I mean, think about the process too. Like if this is your video, okay, I'm going to do X, some action. And then you do the action and you show it. And then you say, okay, I just did the action. Like, that's not what people want. You don't tell them what you're going to do, show them what you're going to do, and then tell them what you just did. That's not what people want. You don't tell them what you're going to do, show them what you're going to do, and then tell them what you just did. That's not what people want. You don't tell them what you're going to do, show them what you're going to do, and then tell them what you just did. That's not what people want. You don't tell them what you're going to do, show them what you're going to do, and then tell them what you just did. that's boring. Combine them all together. If you're on the table saw, while the wood is going through the saw, all right, I'm ripping down this board, and then this is going to be the first thing I carve. There could be a voiceover while the footage is going. You don't need to say what's going to happen, then do it, and then restate what already happened.
Yeah, they should know what you just did if you showed it in the video.
Yeah. And all it takes is sometimes if it's a small thing, but you have that itching feeling, someone's going to ask about it. It could just be 1 or 2 seconds. Just, one.
I want to hit on I got to scroll back up and find it now because I was.
Wayne says a lot of videos don't explain why some things are done. Yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah, Carl Nelson says, I like the whole process, CAD through cutting, but keep it short. I know how long the total process takes, so just highlight, please. One thing I wanted to mention about CAD is on a lot of my videos, when you see that I'm getting ready to say it's a CNC thing, I usually don't show any of the actual CAD, the original design. And here's why I don't. Well, I'm getting better because I'm trying to draw everything in Vectric now. But I've been a long time SolidWorks user. And SolidWorks software, the home user's not going to have it probably because it's real expensive. So, to me, it doesn't really matter how I got the 3D model, whether I bought it, drew it in SolidWorks or ViaCAD or Fusion 360 or whatever, because I'm not trying to show how to do CAD. There's so many different things. I always tell people when they say, well, what kind of CAD program should I do? I go, well, if you're already using something, stick with it, because it doesn't really matter what you use. But I do show how I import it into Vectric, VCarve Pro, whatever I'm using. I use Vectric VCarve Pro. So I will show that part, how I import it, or how I do the bit trace bitmap, that kind of thing. But I don't really start at the very beginning because, like I said, I'm not going to try to teach somebody CAD. I've been doing it for years, and I know how to do what I do.
And speaking of programs, Jim Sinicola was asking what's a good beginner video program to create a video with?
Video editing?
I don't know. To me, if you're talking beginner, use Windows Live Maker.
Yeah. iMovie on Mac.
That's really simple. It doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles, but it comes with Windows. I know I did papers already in mine.
Dave, you're having some latency issues, but yeah, iMovie comes with Apple products and it's free. And I was 2 years on YouTube just with iMovie with free editing.
And Movie Maker with PC.
It's not about the video editor. It's about content. How much you take out, how well you tell the story, and how entertaining it can be.
Yeah, for the longest time, the only two big tools, even now, the only two big tools I use is jump cuts and the speed control, just making stuff fast motion.
Think about cuts too. There are like 14 different kinds of cuts. Did you ever see the cuts where the audio of the next scene happens before it flips?
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. Or the opposite, so those are J's and L cuts or something like that. And yeah, so do a Google search on video cuts, and it's just interesting. And then are they hard cuts, or do you do the little dissolve, like the half-second dissolve between one or the other? That adds a little piece of nicely.
like a crossfade or something.
Yeah, the fades. I'm a big slide in, slide out type thing. When I have items on the screen, they'll slide in and then they'll drop off. That's kind of interesting too.
Yeah, I was just looking in the chat. Jim Dockrell says WMM, I guess that's Windows Movie Maker, is no longer supported in Windows 10. That's what I use, and I got Windows 10. So, in fact, I also have, I decided I was going to try to up my video game. So I purchased Sony, what's it called? Sony
Vega?
Yeah, Vega, I guess. And it's got a lot of bells and whistles. And I have used it some, but a lot of times, again, I'm always, when I do take the time to shoot video, I'm like, all right, let me just get this done and get it up. So I usually end up going with Windows Movie Maker just because it's simpler, unless there's something where I really need to do the video in video and stuff like that, then I have to use the other one. But if it's just a simple video with crossfades and a little music or whatever, I'll just use the Movie Maker.
Yeah, you can go all out with. I've seen some videos go all out with features, and I've seen some fantastic videos that are very impressive. Where Frank Howard's comes to mind, where he's showing a video on a movie screen with him setting up the movie screen while he's doing the project on a separate section of the screen, and I mean it entails a lot of work. In my opinion, Frank Howard's content is what is the most important part. But that video, I mean, it's fantastic seeing those extra things. But ultimately, the videos I've seen with the most number of subscribers and the most views are the worst edited videos on the face of the planet sometimes.
Frank's stuff, they're mini masterpieces, and it's
absolutely
it's not so much the editing, it's the storytelling.
Yes,
he takes you on a journey through his whole process, and it's so fluid. I mean, not that there's any one thing. Now, he does some stop motion stuff, which is fun, but it's not real prominent. But it's just,
and that brings up a good point. What about storytelling when it comes to CNC? What's your opinions on that?
You have to bring it down to the project. The story is in the project. I mean, I guess the story could be in, the types of bits you use and the type of and how the machine is running, but really, it's the story of the product. What of the project? What inspired you? Why you chose different features. Does it have a personal, is some design aspect related to you in a personal way? You can share it. That's story. Bring the viewer along your story.
Yeah, because of all the videos that I watch on YouTube, and I watch quite an awful lot, the ones that have stories are not only are they the best remembered, but they are probably the ones I enjoy the most and watch more than once.
Oh, good question here from Benji Long. Do you describe the project bits and type of material at the beginning or as you are doing the project? Good question. Good question.
Yeah, I usually try to do it, as you're seeing it, like when the shot of the CNC comes up and it starts cutting, that's when I say, well, here's, it's this material, it's oak or mahogany or whatever, the bit, the feed rate, like I said, I try to think any questions that somebody might ask me, and that's what
you could hint at the project at the beginning, and then while the footage is rolling, keep talking about the project as it comes on, as it moves forward in time.
Yeah, I think, getting back to, talking about the people that don't like watching CNCs run. It's for me, it's really the kind of the same thing. And I know a lot of people, use the cameras and they'll put the little hero camera, whatever, on their board and it runs through the tables. See, to me, that's almost as boring as the CNC. I mean, do we really need to see that close-up shot of the blade? Yeah, it's cool, but after you've seen it once, it's like, or at least that's my opinion. To me, that's like kind of a CNC run, and you don't want to see the same kind of thing over and over again with that.
Yep. Welcome, Mike.
Yeah, we left the door open. Mike Murray snuck in here.
Mine or Mike?
I know who comes in.
Welcome.
Yeah,
good evening.
CNC behind
Since you were the last one in, you're going to have to turn the light out and sweep up. Leave. Welcome, Mike. I do have, like I mentioned earlier, I got everybody's links in the show notes down below. So, Mike, you want to plug your channel or anything now that you're here?
Sure. It's Miner Mike's Woodshop on pretty much all social medias. And I will be doing a CNC video hopefully this weekend because I can kind of do a little bit of work.
Well, you've got helpers too, right?
Well, yeah, I'm not lifting anything. Well, this is about all I'm lifting, and I can lift with one hand. So
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna actually do it from start to finish. Design it.
Okay. Well, you need to make sure you watch the first part of this that you missed, so you can get all the good.
No, I was actually watching it in the truck.
Okay. Yeah, because we don't want you to make a boring video.
Nah. Well, that's about I think I have 96 of those on my channel already.
Yeah. So how's the shoulder doing? You getting a little more
Still good. I can come out of the sling when I'm home. So that's about all I really can do. I can lift it up with assistance with my other hand, but I can't go out. That I still have to wait another month.
Here's the most important question. This is the critical CNC question. Can you, while the machine is running, pick up a sandwich and eat it?
Yes, because I can bend my head down further enough.
You are a CNCer.
Yep.
Funny. That's funny. Glad you're feeling better and you're good.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Dave in the chat room says another thing would be comedy, like this old Tony. Comedy, I will warn you, is very hard to pull off. And here's the thing with comedy.
Unless you're awesome with things,
well,
then
I mean, it's tough. It's tough. It's like you gotta nail it. Like there's no in between. It's like it's either awful or it's the best thing ever in comedy. It's a lot harder to do.
And it could be both.
And even if you do nail it, there's going to be somebody comment thinking you didn't nail it.
Well,
so
go easy with comedy in your content because it's hard to do. It's not impossible. You can do it, but man, you have to deliver every time because people are harsh.
And regardless of how comedic your talent is, just make sure you have a backup talent, like if you're a really good dancer.
Well,
that's for those of you who haven't seen one of Matt's prior videos.
That's worth the watch for sure.
Oh baby, come on now.
If you go to Matt's channel and don't watch any video but one,
I am going to put that one up.
Is that one of the videos in my self-proclaimed epic videos?
It's the awesome wood things. That's my favorite one.
Oh, you like that one? Okay, good. Yeah, that's that's my shop tour, my double entendre shop tour. That one,
double entendre shop tour.
Oh my, yeah. My whole funny point about that was I don't know how to do shop tours, So I lip sync and sang and danced around my shop, and each tool had like 1/2 of 1 second on the screen. Yeah, it was what not to do on a shop tour.
Javi, we haven't. I just realized we haven't done a roll call tonight over there in the chat. You want to do the honors?
Sure, I'd be happy to. And we have out there David Mitchell, George Rothfuss, Greg Euler, Landis Stutz, Larry Duggar, Rob Hampton, Stephen Pinn, Jim Sinicola, Steve Atkins. I know I saw Frankie out there, Frankie's Woodwork, Jeff Connor, Steve Carmichael's here. Hello, Steve. Ryan Ballard, Todd. Sorry if I've called your name out twice. Just to enjoy the notoriety. Jim Dockrell, Benji Long. Let's see. I know I saw Steve Nealon earlier, as well as Patrick from Patrick's Woodshop, Kevin Wilkinson, David Jones from Portal Woodworks, Carl Nelson. I apologize if I forgot your, if I didn't see you out here. Paul's Messy Woodshop. We got a whole bunch.
Got a good crowd out there tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? CNC or YouTube wise?
How to make CNCs look good on YouTube. Any questions? Bring them.
And while we're waiting to see if some questions pop up, Matt, do you want to talk about Maker's Rock a little bit?
Oh, sure. Yes, we are doing what we call Maker's Rock. It's a collaboration with dozens and dozens of makers. And by collaboration, I mean we all build a piece of art that mimics a 12-inch by 12-inch album cover, like what vinyl records used to be in. So this year it's open to any decade, any artist, anything you want. And we all build that piece of artwork. And here's the little twist. We all publish on the same day, but then we hold a contest or a giveaway, and we give it away. So you build the item, and then you give it away to one of your fans. Each YouTuber runs their own contest and, handles that on their own. Sometimes people bring in other prizes. Sometimes they don't. But the whole point is every participant helps the other participants. So there's that aspect of it as well. You promote other makers that are playing along. There's a super secret Facebook group that you'll be invited to where some of the participants kind of share what they're doing, because you have to keep it secret until publish day, which is March 12th, 2019. So there's a little bit less than 100 days to get done. So there's plenty of time. It's a lot of fun. This is the 4th year. Last year we had 27 people publish projects all on the same day on YouTube. So don't publish any videos on the 12th of March in 2019, because it'll be outshined by dozens of Makers Rock. So you go to makersrock.com. There's a website, makersrock.com.
Yep, and I just placed it on the chat.
Yeah. If anyone, here's a fun thing. If anyone fills out the form, because we ask you to put in your contact information so we can invite you to the super secret Facebook page and blah, blah, blah. But if you fill out that form, this night light behind me will go on automatically. I have it connected to the internet, and it's watching the form. So anytime a new row pops in the Makers Rock new participant spreadsheet by filling out the form on the website, it'll go on. If that pops on during the show, that's why someone signed up for Makers Rock. There's
cool.
28 projects now. So we're even Steven with last year. We want to push it higher. So anyone else that comes on will beat our record for participants last year. Steve Carmichael in the chat room has participated every year of Makers Rock. So.
And speaking of Steve Carmichael, he just brought up a fantastic question. When you make a video, who do you think of when you're talking to the camera? Who's your target audience?
Well, that's a question to be answered by each individual YouTuber.
I think of Steve Carmichael myself. I don't know about the rest of you.
For me, I want to inspire people and teach. So I like to put the techniques, I like to highlight the techniques I'm using so someone else could use them. And then I have an entertainment value too. So I'm a mix. My audience is people who want to be entertained by a good video with good lighting, with good editing, with good background music, with good voiceovers, and then learn something along the way. So,
by the way, for anyone who has never seen any of Steve, if there are any, I've never seen any of Steve Carmichael's videos. If you're ever feeling in a depressed mood, just go to Steve Carmichael's channel, because the man has a permanent smile on his face, and you just can't help but being cheery after watching him.
He's everybody's favorite YouTuber.
Absolutely.
And there's something to be said about really enjoying what it is you're doing. People can pick up on subtle things. Your audience is very smart in that respect. If you're not having a good time, it will come through on your video. And Steve Carmichael, this is a hobby for him. He's not doing this full time, and it shows. Like Javi said, you always know, you truly know that Steve is having a great time in his shop, and it's infectious. I love it. I love it.
He's like that in person too.
Yeah,
he is.
So, now he says,
you know how NASCAR always has, like, every year they do the most popular driver and stuff like that, and for years Dale Earnhardt Jr. won it year after year after year, and I think Chase Elliott won it this past year. Whatever. If you did that for YouTubers, Steve Carmichael would win every year, no doubt.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Just a great channel. We love you, Steve.
Yeah. So who's your audience? Your audience is someone who wants to be entertained and learn something, at least in a maker capacity. If your channel is a maker type show, that's who your audience is.
I have another.
Well, going back to that question, you could also answer it as if you're speaking to one person. As a host, as an on-camera personality, you want to talk as if you're having a conversation with a really good friend. So don't think of it as hundreds of people. Think when you're in front of the camera, think that you're having a one-sided conversation with a really good friend, and that is another answer to what type of audience should you make your videos for. That goes a long way.
I wanted to answer a question I was looking a while ago. If I looked distracted, I probably was, because I was trying to find a icon on my desktop. Rob Hampton asked, what do you use to capture working on the PC screen to video? I use some stuff that's free. I think Mark Lindsay's the one that told me about this, called Flashback Express. Works pretty well. Matt, what do you use?
I use a $35 piece of shareware. Now it's just, you pay once and done, and it's called Snaps Pro X, and it's SNAPZ or something like that. Snaps. It's Ambrosia Software is the developer. Snaps Pro X, and you do Command Shift 5, and it pops up a little panel, and you could do a rectangle, you can do a window, an open window, or you could do the whole screen. And it has features where, like, if this was like a menu, like you clicked on a menu and like this popped down, and then you rolled over what you wanted to highlight, and then it was like kind of blue highlight there, you could take a screen grab of that. If you use the Macintosh's inbuilt screen grabber, it collapses the window. And so it's a little more sophisticated as to what it will capture. But yeah, it's just a piece of shareware, and it writes down a MP4, and then you just drop that right into your editing program. Yeah.
Here's a good question from Jim Bashir's.
Camtasia's a good one. That's a $300 third party. Like that's the Mac Daddy one right there.
Windows also has the free one that comes on the computer. I forget what the name of it is.
Won't QuickTime will do it too.
Yep, the QuickTime is what I use
on Mac or PC. I think they'll capture that. But I like my little piece of shareware. It has some extra bells and whistles.
Jim had a question about making videos in a disarrayed and cluttered shop. Paul and I are Paul's Messy Workshop and myself are wondering if that's a dig at us, but does it distract from what you were trying to do?
I was reading that question right when you started talking about it, Javi, and if you go back and look at pick any video of mine, any of them,
yeah,
whether it's recorded in my garage or around back in my shop or right here. I mean, if I waited until I didn't have clutter and a clean shop and stuff like that, I would never make a video because I'm not, some of those guys, and that's great. I admire those guys that have every little tool.
John Heinz.
Place, that's not me. That's not who I am.
I got to tell you, Dave, I agree with you. I was just thinking about it as you were talking. From a viewer's perspective, that's probably a video I'll watch more than once because I'll watch it for the content. And then sometimes I'll just watch it just to see what I can find in the background because it's always interesting to like a hidden objects puzzle or something.
It's
Where's Waldo?
Where's Waldo?
It's something to take into consideration, but a workshop's a workshop. If it's too clean, people are going to be upset that it's too clean. And some people do it deliberately.
That's a really good point, Matt, because when I watch a video and it's one of those clean freaks, I'm like, nah, that guy don't really make anything in there,
Right.
So when I watch a video and they're really messy like I am, it doesn't bother me a bit because I'm thinking, yeah, this guy works in his shop. You can tell as everything's got
like a car mechanic without oil under his fingernails. What does he do?
Put it this way. I mean, you make small judgments. Like, I was shooting a video in my shop where I was grinding paint off of something, and down on the floor was an old 4-inch PVC pipe that I had splattered stain on. It just looked ugly. I moved the pipe. Like, I didn't move everything, but that was just out of place. It was a harsh color compared to the background, and so little things is what I would worry about. But no, don't clean up your shop. Some people love it. Jimmy DeResta had said on camera that he likes all the vintage tools in the background. It's just sort of a interesting backdrop. So, I wouldn't sweat it. I think I saw another question in there somewhere.
Steve Good just popped in. Hello, Steve. By the way, hopefully, if it's okay with you, I'm going to use a few of your patterns on Friday's show, CNC with Javi, and do some Christmas ornaments with some of your patterns.
Yeah, okay. I usually mention this, especially since we've got the CNC challenge going on right now. Steve Good has
great resource.
Just a ton of stuff that can easily be, or most of it can easily be adapted for CNC if you're looking for some inspiration for your Christmas project. So check out, and I can never remember his thing. It's something Blogspot.
Can
you get that?
Fourth week in a row, I'll plug Steve's channel. I'll be right there.
Yeah.
Something to be said about using a free web host. It persists throughout.
Yeah, I mean, I can go right to it because I have it bookmarked. But when I try to send somebody else over there, I'm like, it's.
But he has so much. Imagine like
scrollsawworkshop.blogspot.com.
Yeah, all I can remember is the blog spots in there somewhere.
There you are.
Jim had a good comment. He said, zoom in. If you zoom in, you don't have to clean up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's what I use.
And, like, is your lens the kind that will do the bokeh blurry background? Like, do you buy a very expensive pro lens for your DSLR and then just make the background blurry and only what's in the foreground being focused? Problem solved. Who needs to clean?
Yeah, it's I've just, like I said, anybody that's come to visit me, I don't know what I'd love to know what they're really thinking. They're probably thinking, "Guy, how's this guy working this stuff?" Because I've got stuff everywhere. But that's just me. That's how I've always been, and I still get the work done.
The thing with
not
video
pretty.
editing, here's a video editing tip I think that applies to it. You want to make your next video just a little bit better than your last video. You don't need to make monumental improvements, just small improvements over time.
Mhm.
YouTube's a long game. It's
Very long.
people can do this for years and years and years. You've got time. I pan while editing too. The camera doesn't move. I don't know what.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I use my that's a great point. I a lot of times when I'm doing like the property videos that I'm doing of the make room for Javi, I actually I have a high enough resolution camera where I'll just film the whole entire wide angle, and let's say I'm on a mower or something, I'll just pan around and follow me. With the editing software.
Resolution. See, I shoot in 1080, so I feel like if I do that, I'm making it blurry as I go in. I should shoot in 4K.
You got to be careful with it. Yeah.
David Mitchell had a good question. We could probably do a whole show on his question, but he says, "How do you deal with the internet know-it-alls in safety?"
Police.
Oh, the safety trolls.
Personal
protection
equipment guys
in
the comments.
I had a really interesting experience. That speaks to this. On one of my videos, I was ripping a board through the table saw, and I had the hearing protection, I had the breathing protection, and I had my full face shield on, and I was using two push sticks. I didn't say anything about it, but the comment was, "Thank goodness someone's actually using personal protection equipment and not saying, now I'm not doing this, but you should do it." And I'm like, hey, I try and lead by example and not be preachy. Everyone can make their own decisions about how safe they think they can use a tool, and they can make their own choices as to what type of protection they're going to do. But I don't know. But I guess that wasn't the question. The question was, how do you deal with it in the comments? You could say, well,
comment is a hit.
It was for on-screen purposes. Did you ever see those boring things? The safety guard was removed for clarity of the camera. You could claim that excuse, I guess.
Yeah. Sometimes I get snarky with them, but I used to, back when it was relevant. Well, it still might be relevant. A couple of years ago, I had the useless challenge. Well, every year I have it, but a couple of years ago, it was Jerry Brown created some X-ray glasses, and any of you that have seen that video, it was hilarious because he created X-ray glasses made out of wood. Now these are useless because the lenses are also wood. He couldn't see a thing, and he proceeded to cut a board on his table saw wearing these glasses. Probably the most unsafe video ever. And I always refer them to that video whenever somebody makes a comment about safety.
Turn comments off, says Todd.
It was a great video.
Usually when they comment, I very, very rarely have really crummy comments. Usually I don't get any, or the ones that are pretty positive. But I did have one person in particular, and I can name a video.
That wasn't Padriak, was it?
Yeah, Lord Padriak. I made a sign that said Lord Padriak. That was his username. They never use their real name. And I hate to even give him a mention now, but it was Lord Patriarch, and I can't even remember what it was about. I'd have to go back and look, but he just really ticked me off. So I made a sign that said Lord Patriarch, King of the Trolls, and for like the next 2 or 3 of my videos, that you'll see that sign in the video. You know, I made sure I had it placed where whatever I was doing, you would see it. But
Was it?
I don't think he probably can't see it because I think I probably ended up blocking him or whatever. But yeah, most of the time, if they're just saying, well, that wasn't really safe or whatever, I'm like, well, thank you for watching. I appreciate your comment and blah, 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 you know, but it just depends on their tone and attitude. You know, if they're calling you an idiot for what you did, then I usually just.
My favorite response was the one that Matt gave me. Matt, why don't you share your what the advice you gave me when working with a troll?
My favorite thing to do is to amplify what they're saying to the point of absurdity. In other words, you're not disagreeing with them, you're agreeing with them, and just ramping it up to the point where it's just now. It's hard to do if the topic is a safety issue, and it's easier to do if the topic is something else. But that's a good tactic. I call it agree and amplify is sort of like the.
Like if they say you're an idiot, and he says, "Well, thank you very much. That's exactly what I was going for."
Yep.
Could you mind giving me advice on how I could be more of an idiot or something like that? But really, a deep sarcastic tone, and if you're smart enough about it, you can get a good one in.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I just got my bachelor's in being an idiot, so I'm glad you picked up on that. It was money well spent. You know, what are they gonna do? It's just trolls want a dialogue. That type of response cuts the dialogue. It just stops it because you've agreed with them, and you've made them look a little silly because you've amplified their.
Yeah, there's another question over there I want to hit, and then I guess we should probably wrap this thing up. We're past the hour here. Keith Allen says, what type of camera is best for YouTube videos? Also, what is a good mic? Well, let me just give you my 2 cents worth on that. I decided, I don't know, probably 2-3 years ago now, I had been using, I don't even know where it is. It's around here somewhere. A little flip video thing. Used it for years. It just screw it onto the tripod, hit the one button, walk around, do whatever I'm going to do, come back, hit the button. Very simple. But then I decided, you know, I needed to try to up my game. So I bought, let me bring it over here. I went to Best Buy and I bought a Canon. This is a T5i. I got this some kind of little mic here. And I don't think, no, this is my 2 cents. You guys can chime in here. To me, I don't think it really matters as long as you get some decent video and some good audio. The audio is probably as important or more important than the video. But let me tell you what I have on my camera here. I've got this custom thing, and I'm going to hold this up here. I think you can probably, can y'all read what that says?
Turn mic off.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
I'll turn the mic on.
It says, turn the damn mic on. And even now, I've gotten so used to that being there that I still sometimes go, hit record, go around, and I do it. I'm like, man, I got it in one take. I didn't mess up. And then I realized I forgot.
You got to put another sticker on the outside, Dave, and say, shut the mic off.
Yeah, and I've done that too. I've left it on, and then I go to use it the next time the battery's dead. So, my point is, if you go buy a $2,000 camera, if you still suck at making videos, you're still going to suck. The camera's not going to make you a lot better.
My
the
advice
Arrow
is
or the Archer.
Any camera will do. Use your phone if you have to. People will forgive poor video. they'll never forgive poor audio. No one will watch a video with poor audio. As far as what gear, I'm still fighting through that myself. I bought one of these little Zoom mics. These do really, really well. You can jack in a boom or a lapel mic if you want.
You just have to make sure that the camera that you're working with has a input.
Well, my camera has a faulty input, so I capture all my audio externally and then mix it in. But and you know
that's a lot of work.
I know, but the answer doesn't even have to involve equipment. You know, just is there anything you can do to make the environment less audio noisy? You know, I work in a basement, and someone flushes the commode, and you hear it, or the furnace kicks on, and you hear it, or so, I mean, it's a very. But I try.
Yeah,
I turn everything off.
That's why I like using sometimes background music and just overdubbing,
Right?
just narration on it.
But I
You
like
could do that, but
an outro.
like my camera does, I don't know, what is it, 5.1 or whatever the heck it is, surround sound recording. So that's why I got the cheap from Amazon. You know, it's like almost a Rode mic, and then I hook that up, so it just gets like a pinpoint, so it doesn't get all the background.
A directional mic, yes.
Yeah, directional like this. Thank you.
This is not.
Aim it right at the router.
This is a directional mic, but you know, this is a studio mic. You can't have that down.
One thing I want to add to Matt's tip about using your phone: please turn it sideways.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing worse than watching a video with 3/3, or 2/3 of it black because
friends don't let friends shoot portrait videos.
Yeah.
Don't, for the love of all that's holy. Don't do it.
Yeah, and make sure you don't get overconfident like I did last weekend when I decided to film myself digging a bunch of post holes, and I had my phone on a mount on a tripod, and I moved it. I dug some holes, moved it, dug some holes, moved it, dug some holes, and then looked at the camera and go, "Let me turn off the video." Shoot, never hit the on button.
Oh, Javi! Oh no,
those moments hurt.
That's right. You got like 700 more you got to dig. So,
yeah, this is true.
Yeah, Todd HCNC made a good point. He says if you buy a fancy camera, you're just going to suck in HD versus 480 or whatever you were filming in before. So yeah, I don't think my video. Another thing I have a problem with being an old guy is when I swing out that little window. Sometimes I'll record something and I go back and watch it. Well, it looks clear to me in that little window. And then when I get it in here on something bigger, it's not clear. It's out of focus, or the part that I wanted to get in focus isn't, and something else is. So a lot of times I have to take a laptop out there and take the SD card out, throw it in the laptop, and look at it in something bigger so that I can see it. But that's just because I got crappy eyesight.
No, I struggle with that too.
Dave, what you could do is you can make like a dummy, like prop to stick where you're going to shoot, so you could focus in before you get there. That's what I do now when I use my Canon every once in a while.
I
had it originally hooked up to a TV.
I've tried that, and then I've tried doing the autofocus.
Autofocus doesn't work with the video. It
seems like when I do it manual, like I said, I look and I think I've got it in focus, and I do the shot, and then I bring the SD card in here, and I'm like, oh crap, that's not even in focus.
Yeah,
so,
I do.
And then sometimes when you're, if you're cutting something on a CNC, it's not like you can go back and redo the shot because it's already done.
I do all mine manual because I realize the auto, and mine will autofocus before you actually hit the record button. You can be in video mode, but it won't do it while it's recording.
Yeah, while it's running.
And I do have one of those poles on a like the office chair base, the wheeled office chair base. and I have to print out my Steve Carmichael face to zoom in on because that's floating around on the internet somewhere. Like Steve Carmichael's face smiling, and then you focus it on that. I just have a target now, but anyway.
And it sets the tone for the video, so it's fantastic.
Yeah, it reminds me to smile. Good stuff.
All right. Any other questions out there? I appreciate y'all hanging in there with us tonight.
Well, thanks for letting me chat and help people out with their videos. I appreciate you having me on here, Dave.
Well, thank you for coming on, Matt. I guess we're going to wrap this up. I don't see any other questions. Focus Master, I build it.ca. That's
John Hines. Yeah.
John Hines. Jim, what's wrong?
He also made a nice video on a making a light box.
John Hines did.
John Hines did.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
He did.
Yeah. He made a light box that basically went around the camera, and it's a nice design. It's
like a ring light, but it was
like a ring light, but it was rectangular, and it's I'll tell you, I mean, something like that goes along with lighting is a big part if you're doing a lot of close-up work on the tools themselves, or even in your own shop. I mean, if you're outside, hopefully you got the sun in your eyes, and you got a good lighting. But inside, you got to control the lighting.
Yep. All right. I don't see any other questions out there. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Once again, don't forget, we've got the Gatton CNC Christmas Challenge going on right now. If you want to find out more about that, you can go to the davegatton.com. I think there's probably a link down below to go to to learn what you need to do to get in the Christmas Challenge. And I guess that's all I got. Thanks, Michael, Matt, and Javi for being here tonight. Feel free to leave a thumbs up on the way out, folks. I'd appreciate it. And I guess that's going to do it.
Thanks, everyone. Stay awesome.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, all.
Good night.